Hello there, Carrie Rhodes here. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel for another Fawn Fans video hop. Today, the Fawn Fans are doing a summer themed hop and bringing you some fun creations using some of our favorite Fawn products. A big thank you to Fawn, who is sponsoring this month's hop and giving away a $25 shopping spree to their store to one of you. So make sure you hop along and leave comments as you go. Today I'm going to be making some shaker cards. Now let's take a look at the products I'll be using today. I'm using this Happy Hugs stamp and die set. I'll be using the Magic Iris Thought Bubble die, the Plaid stencil set, which I'm in love with, and the Giant Sending Hugs die. I'll also be using some shaker elements from the Craft Supplies by CC shop on Etsy, which I will link for you below as well. So I'm starting out by creating my background with these stencils. Now, I thought I would start out making my panel the size I wanted for my card. This made it a little bit harder on myself because I had to do some strategic positioning of the stencil. So I don't recommend this. This is a video tutorial where do as I say and not as I do is the rule. So I did some Dewdrop ink for my first stenciling, then I rotated the stencil, and now I'm using some Wisteria ink. So blue and purple, I think they look really fun and summery together. And then I'm bringing in the second stencil, layering that on top, so I'm going to stencil in between the lines that I already did. I was going to use yellow, but I decided to come in with some bamboo ink. All three of these inks are from Altenew, and I used this super skinny blending brush, which I don't use very often. I thought it would be really good for these little lines, but it actually is not. It was just the right size that it kind of would slip under the lines of the stencil. Now, maybe it wouldn't do this if you were using pixie spray. I don't have that if we're having true confession time. And so I would recommend using a tiny bit bigger stencil, which I'm going to do on card number 2. You can see it's a little bit messy. So don't use a tiny makeup brush either. Makeup style blending brush. I don't know why I still call them that. They're just blending brushes. We've been using these things for a while now. So to kind of play in with that messy look and not waste this background, I took a gel pen and highlighted the green lines with a little bit of messy outlining. Not perfect. I didn't end up using the ruler, and I felt that really helped. So I'm going to go ahead and use it. I'm die cutting out this grassy border from the mushroom border die set and adding a little bit of bamboo ink to the edge because this is electric lime cardstock. It's quite bright, but I felt like it went really well with my background. And then having the darker edge, I just love. It really gives it some dimension. So I glued that down. I'm going to set that aside and stamp out the images I want for my first card. So I have the 2 squirrel images, a heart, the thought bubble, and 1 sentiment that says, "Remember hugs." I love that so much. So I stamped those in some jet black ink, and I'm going to Copic color them. And I have the marker caps on the screen so you can see which colors. I started with my lightest E13, brought in my darkest E23, and added in those shadows. I'm going to blend that out a little bit with my E35, and then I'm going to blend that out even more with my E13. Now, I felt like I wanted it darker, so I'm going to go over that again with the exact same colors and just extend the shadows and extend my blending. And this also, going over an image 2 times really helps when things aren't blending as well. So I will do this double color a lot of times. All right, so I die cut those out, and then I'm also going to die cut out this Magic Iris Thought Bubble. However, I am not going to use it to make a magic iris. It's going to be my shaker. So to get a window sheet that's going to cover that hole, I just took the fallout piece from the center of this thought bubble and used temporary adhesive to stick it down to a window sheet, and then I was able to cut it a little bit bigger. I could have found a circle die and tried that, but this just seemed faster, and I didn't need it to be a perfect circle. It's not ever going to be seen. Now I have some foam adhesive strips that are really thin, and I'm going to go around the edge of my circle opening with that window sheet stuck down and create a reservoir for my shaker element. So making sure the ends of those adhesive strips are touching, so nothing can escape. Now I'm doing the same thing on a white piece of cardstock, just rough cutting a circle that's going to close up the back of this. I'm using some anti-static powder on both of those pieces to reduce the static in my card, but I don't find clay elements to be as staticky as something like sequins, so that's fabulous. So I put in these cute little clay hearts, and then I'm going to seal them into place with that circle I cut out. And then from the front, I'm going to add my little squirrels that are hugging and this little heart right above them. I'm going to set that aside, and on one of my, my other thought bubble, I'm stamping thinking of you. And then I'll add my squirrel to the hill with some dimension on a foam square. And then I'll add my biggest thought bubble because it's going to take up the most space. And then I can position the second thought bubble between the squirrel and the largest thought bubble. I'm adding remember hugs at the top there that I die cut with a banner die, and then I'm going to snip off the end so it's coming right there from the end, and then I just have to test out the shaker. I love it. So we have a little new way or a different way you can use that magic iris add-on. Maybe you don't have the magic iris, but it's really cool to make it as a shaker, and it really could be a flower too, don't you think? It could also be a fried egg. Those are my other thoughts for that die. So I added some extra clay hearts in and around and mounted this on a card that's 5 1/4 by 10 1/2 inches, scored at 5 1/4. So it had a little bit of a border around there. I thought that looked really good for this card. Now for the inside of this, I wanted to add this really big die cut, and so I pulled out a scrap of the electric lime paper that would fit it, and it happened to be 9 inches by 4 inches. So when I was die cutting it, I was like, I might as well make a second card with this die cut and save the fallout pieces. So that's when card number 2 was born. So there you can see I'm trying really carefully to save all those fallout pieces. There's one super tiny piece that goes by the G, so I just save those, and then I am gluing this one on the inside of my card on the top half, so when you open it you have this really fun sentiment there, and then plenty of room to add your own personalized message right below it. Pretty cute. So there's card number 1 with the mini shaker on the card. I always love to do a mini shaker. And then I think it's really cute to send to a friend you haven't seen in a while. All right, so let's move on to card number 2. I got smart, you know, a little bit, because you can see there I pulled out the wrong stamp pad for the wrong brush. But now I've got it right. I have a 6 by 6 piece of paper that I'm going to do the same exact background as I did before. Also, if you move your brush with the grain, so to speak, of the line, it's a lot easier. That stencil doesn't move. So if you're like me and don't have pixie spray, you can do your card stenciling like that. So I used a little bit bigger brush this time on those skinny lines, and this background so much better. I trimmed that down and added it to a slimline card, and then I glued a window sheet to the back of my large die cut, and now I just need to glue in all those fallout pieces, sticking it right down to that window sheet, so that now I have a negative piece that's going to be a shaker window for my card. Now you could glue this all down right on that background and not make it a shaker, but I'm a shaker girl. I love to move and shake it. I love a shaker card so much. I am using some, I believe, lilac. There's purple seed beads, indigo, from the same Craft Supplies by CC Etsy shop. By the way, Neha is the owner of that shop. She's also on this hop, and she has digital stamps in her shop now. Unique and one-of-a-kind digital stamps. So be sure to check her out. I'll have the link for you below, like I said. All right, so now I am adding some extra adhesive to the back of that double window sheet. So I sealed my shaker elements in with the second window sheet because I'd already stuck my background down to my card. So I needed something to seal it in so my seed beads wouldn't roll all over when I tried to put the card front down onto the card base. So now I have another grassy hill I added ink to, and I think this tone on tone hill with the darker edge looks really cool. So I know it's a lot of green going on in this card, but we're going to tone it down a little bit with some stamped images. So I am stamping the mice that are hugging, and I'm going to stamp 2 of the thought bubbles this time. For my mice, I'm using some warm gray markers. I'm going to color them in completely with my W0, and then I'll bring in W4 to add in my shadow, so creating those darkest areas. And then I can blend that out with W2 and make that edge a little bit softer, and then I'll go back in one more time with W0 to finish coloring out the gray part. Then I added a little R20 to their noses and ear and made some cheeks for them. And then, as with all my stamped images, I really love adding some white highlights with a Jelly Roll pen. So I die cut all those out, and I did end up stamping 3 little hearts to add into the scene as well. So now I'm just going to play around and figure out where I want all my pieces placed, and even those little hearts are going to go in and around that big giant die cut shaker window. On one of these I stamped "I miss you," and then that's going to go at the top of the card. Then I really wanted another sentiment to say "a hug would be nice." It's kind of a punny play on words. Instead of "a hug would be nice," which would also be a great sentiment to have with all these huggy things that Lawn Fawn is coming out with. A hug would be nice, wouldn't it? All right, so I hand drew my sentiment, and I am okay with it. It's not my favorite. You might probably think that it's fine, but it's one of those things I'm going to tell myself is fine until I believe it. I don't know why. It's really hard for me to just put my handwriting on there, but I already know who I'm going to send this card to, and she will think it's fabulous. So I'm letting go of perfectionism and rolling with it, and I'm going to be okay with it. All right, so I did have leftovers of my background, and I cut little strips to put at the top and the bottom of that panel, and I had an extra strip for the inside, and I love this look because it makes it look like the entire background of the card is that plaid background, but you and I both know that stencil is not big enough to create a slimline background, but shh, we won't tell anyone, right? All right, so I added some clay hearts in and around that one as well in the purple color, and that finishes out my 2 shaker cards, 2 for 1, because I used the negative piece to create my slimline shaker card. I thank you so much for stopping by here today, and I hope that you will hop along with us and check out the other Lawn Fawn creations from my friends. They're amazing crafters and have such great ideas. You're going to love it. Make sure you leave comments on each video so you can be entered to win the $25 shopping spree to the Lawn Fawn shop. The winner will be announced on June 25th. So watch for that on any of the channels that you're hopping along with today. Thank you so much, and I will see you all again on the next video. Happy stamping! Bye!